Here's what I want to do.
Mhm.
I've actually been thinking for a while about crowbarring a segment in at some point, and I was like, yeah, we'll just do it now. So I'm going to give everyone time to think about this, okay? But I want to play this at 5:30 today. I don't know why I've been in a mood to play this for a while. I want to play 2 truths and a lie, okay? So each of you guys come up with 2 truths and 1 lie, and we're going to see if we can guess the lie from each other. We'll go around the horn. So everyone come up with yours, Darius, Ryan,
Oh,
Toby.
okay.
Now, should we do it me and you working together or competing against one another? Or should we come up with our own and all 5 of us go and then everyone can workshop it?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that one. Every man for himself.
I like that. So this is like a elimination chamber or something. What's the wrestling term for every man for themselves? Battle
Free
Royal?
for all?
Is this a Royal Rumble?
There you go.
Somebody's going to get thrown over the rope. So 2 truths and a lie coming to you at 5:30.
Why? First of all, like we said that, why? Where did that come from?
2 truths and a lie?
Yeah. We decided we got to play that.
You know what it was? I don't know why. When Tress Way filled in with me one of the 8 times you were sick in the last month, I wanted to play with him. And I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm going to get Tress to give me, 3 things, and I got to pick the spot the lie, basically. And then we didn't play it. And ever since then, I'm like, it'd be fun to play it with Danny at some point. And then I was just like, you know what?
Like today at some point.
Today's the day.
There we go.
We got a lot of draft stuff we could talk about. There's fun things to cover. It's a Monday, which is normally busier, but who cares? Let's have a little fun.
All right.
5:30, 2 truths and a lie on Grant and Danny. All right, the poll of the day is available for you right now. Go vote. 1067 The Fan Twitter account. The G&D poll of the day is presented by Metropolitan Moving and Storage. Local, long distance, residential, or commercial. 3 decades of best-in-class service and experience. The question we're asking you is, if you could add an elite speed weapon offensively in the draft, they hit a home run in the mid-rounds, and they get a game-changer speed option at either running back or wide receiver, which would you prefer it to be?
It's wide receiver for me, and I'm betting it's going to be the opposite for you, but I'll let you field it. To me, the value of the take the top off the defense danger threat is more valuable than the scat back or speed back who might be able to do the same but has longer to go. In other words, I want that long threat to A, catch the occasional long pass, B, open things up for the midfield workers, for the McLaurins of the world, for potentially Ben Sinnott one day running a route, but more likely Zach Ertz early on. I want more space for Deebo Samuel to operate underneath, and that's kind of intermediate to short ranges. That lethal take the top off the defense guy, I didn't quite understand the value of it. Obviously, it's you watch a SportsCenter highlight back in the day, you see someone throw it deep, and the guy catches a touchdown. It's one pass. It's some points. I get that, but I didn't see the down in, down out impact it could make really firsthand until Deshaun Jackson came here. And I was wrong. I didn't want him. And once he arrived, I finally got it. There are games where he's 3 catches for 19 yards, and it didn't make much of a difference. And I'm going, why is that special? They're still able to hum and move the ball up and down the field. It's because everyone's terrified. Every defender doesn't want to end up on the recap show on NFL Network or you got crossed, and like everyone yells at you and they go, oh, when you're trailing the guy on the way to the end zone. It opens everything up all the time. And I want that open up all the time thing for Jaden Daniels and company.
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong. I think a wide receiver like a Deshaun Jackson who strikes up the band, which is what we're talking about, is an invaluable
easier
weapon.
said than done, obviously, to find out. Yeah.
But I think you just saw with Saquon Barkley that the running back who hits home runs is just more valuable because the ball's in their hands more often. They have more of an influence on more things around them, as much as you just talked about how much a wide receiver sends ripple effects and changes things for other receivers and tight ends and everybody else, the quarterback, the O-line. A running back, I do think, affects more things. And the other part about this specific to Washington is the Commanders have a much bigger need at running back than wide receiver, and it's not particularly close. Now, that's not to say that they don't have need at both. They are okay at running back. They are okay at wide receiver. But in terms of speed, they need that at running back more than they need it at wide receiver. Because if you add the player that we're talking about, this home run threat, band striker upper guy who gets a handoff and scores a touchdown or takes the lid off and goes 75 yards on the first play of a drive starting at the 25 for a touchdown. If you add one of those 2 players in the wide receiver room, you're fighting for targets behind Terry McLaurin, aside from Deebo Samuel. Whereas in the running back room, this guy's getting work, and I think could be a starter. If they draft the running back I want them to, that guy will start games and maybe get more carries than anyone else on the team this season. Like Bashal Tutin, the kid from Virginia Tech that I really, really like, who ran the fastest combine 40 time, who's going to be on the show, by the way, midweek. Looking forward to talking to him this week on Grant and Danny. But, Tutin, he might start here. Could start in week 1. Like, I think he is every bit as good as Brian Robinson would be in this offense. And then you just change some roles around them a little bit. So, yeah, I'm going running back over wide receiver for Washington. Your answer is fine. And look, it's probably debatable enough from a football philosophy standpoint. But I think for this team, with this construction right now, especially they're a run-first team with a quarterback who does everything out of read option, basically. Look at the Ravens going and getting Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, who almost went for 2,000 yards. Look at the Eagles going and getting Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, who did go for 2,000 yards. You don't want a home run hitting, scary threat at running back next to Jaden Daniels. It would be way more helpful than a wide receiver.
So to me, and I don't hate the answer either. The thing that we might disagree on is I don't know if that guy's going to get the premium touches. This new running back. If I was penciled in for a mid-round dude, a third or fourth rounder, like you found Bucky Irving 2.0, for sake of argument, then he's got to get the football. Then he gets his 15 to 20 touches a game.
They're going to get more touches than the wide receiver you're drafting.
Well, by
a lot.
But I don't think it's that. I think there's still more fight for touches in that backfield. I think there's still more Brian Robinson than I want. I think there's still Austin Eckler, and he should get the ball some. I don't know that he's going to be the premium bell cow kind of guy like Barkley or Derrick Henry. Maybe you do find him and you can't help but keep him off the field. He's that good,
but in year 1, the receiver that you're drafting, like we're talking about, would you rather them draft a burner weapon wideout or running back? That's the question.
Right.
The running back will be more involved in year 1 than the receiver will, almost certainly, because of the
closer to the nature of the position. Right.
Yeah. I mean, so to me, that shouldn't be a disqualifying concern to then answer receiver. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you're saying, I don't know if that guy's going to be as involved as you think. All right, well, let's say he's not. He's still way more involved than
he's still
receivers.
Yeah, he's still getting 100 touches where there's no way that receiver does.
Exactly.
That's obvious. Yeah. So, point taken there.
And he helps more because of that. Meaning just touching the ball more.
Right. So there's more direct impact. I mean, to me, I'm talking about the value of the indirect impact, but I think that's
that's
eye of the beholder.
That speed in the backfield when they're not running the ball with Jaden Daniels pulling and keeping
helps too.
It helps Jalen Hurts. It helps. I mean, it's not a coincidence. That's what the Eagles decided to do. They said, "Oh my God, we got this guy. What if we had not a good running back like Rashad Penny, who's averaging 5.5, but gets hurt all the time and doesn't hold a candle to Saquon? But what if we had the running back?
The superstar.
What if the Ravens went from some very solid running backs over the years to a Hall of Famer next to Lamar Jackson? Well, guess what? Lamar has his best season. That guy runs for 2K. The offense is borderline unstoppable. Like, it goes together. It's meat and cheese on a sandwich. I think Jaden Daniels' presence makes the running back even more significant. I'm trying to follow the Eagles and Ravens lead on this.
I smell what you're cooking there. I mean, to me, it's still going to. I think the thing we're both looking for is ease,
speed. I'll answer that.
Right. Well, but and it comes from speed.
Right.
Like whether it's a one pass for a possession for a touchdown, or making it just seemed like you think about so many third downs, so many whatever's in long. Think about so many of those nitty gritty gotta have it plays where it's like by the skin of their teeth because Daniels is working miracles. And my point with that is not that Jaden Daniels isn't incredible and a godsend. He is all those things. I want to make it as easy as possible for him going forward as the rest of the league is now going to punch back a little bit. More difficult schedule, better defenses, second year adjustments, defensive coordinator staying up late at night, figuring out what Kingsbury and company does. I thought Deebo Samuel was the biggest first step towards that. The Laramie Tunsil's kind of 1A, just being able to keep Daniels upright, not having to run for his life as much. But to me, that passing game is where I think of ease first. But it's a good point that having more effective first down runs keeps you out of those 2nd and 11s, which they seem to have constantly the entire second half of the year.
I also think just the value of the running back position is climbing again, as you saw last year. But here's a good comp. Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jahmyr Gibbs, who is a more important player for the Lions?
For me, it's St. Brown.
So last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 34 plays of 15 or more yards, number 3 in the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs had 33 of those plays of 15 or plus yards. One fewer than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Explosive plays are becoming the new turnover margin. I love this quote from Dave Canales, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, was talking to ESPN at the league meetings this week. He said, quote, if you can have a +3 margin in explosives, over the years, we've learned that almost equals the exact getting a ball from the opponent margin. It's really close in percentage in terms of leading to wins. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs, who this is just talking about 15-plussers. This is not all the other stuff, but 33 games of 15-plus compared to St. Brown's 34. Essentially, running back versus receiver, the same number of chunks, explosives. You got to worry about where Gibbs is lining up all over the place and moving. Bijan Robinson. Gibbs was drafted 12th, and everyone thought they were crazy. It was brilliant. Bijan Robinson was drafted 8th. Everyone said they were maniacal. He went for 1450 and almost carried the Falcons to the playoffs last year. They had Cousins hurt and then benched. They had a rookie quarterback who had some good moments but made some mistakes down the stretch. Still almost made the playoffs. And I look at just the position in general. If you, in 1995, when I was 7 years old, there were 9 running backs that ran the ball 300 times. 9 in 1995. In 2023, there were 0. Know how many there were last year?
5 or 6, I think.
6.
Yeah.
6 guys ran the ball 300 times, including Barkley 345 and Henry 325.
Yeah, the bell cow is kind of making this triumphant return.
Trying. We'll see. I think you got to be special to do it. And we can look more at the running back position because I got a bunch of other numbers I found in this ESPN piece that stood out to me. But, running back to me, it's also a way bigger need than the team seems to want to make it out to be. Or even then.
Are you nervous about that? Because I am.
Not really, because I think they're passable. Like, it's not a bad position. It's just a way bigger need from the standpoint of, do you want to be scary? Do you want to be lethal? Do you want to be able to do the thing we're talking about, which is the 4-play drive for 87 yards? Or do you want to go on a 13-play drive and count on Jaden Daniels to get a bunch of 4th and 1s again? One of my biggest concerns going into this season is this idea that, like, oh, look how often they went on long drives and scored. They had to have a historically brilliant year on 4th down that normally is not replicable.
Yeah, if you're at 70%, which is excellent, you lose 5 of those games.
They went 23 of 26, if you remember, to start the year on 4th down. 23 of 26. I mean, that is an 88% clip. Just by being really good on 3rd down, you could go like 16 of 26. That's 7 drives that died. And you're still 61%, still among the best in the league.
Right.
So I'm just not relying upon
this magical, incredible thing that happened.
Yeah, to happen again.
When I say, are you nervous about it? My fear is that this front office, who's really smart and they're really good, we're just talking football now, looks at both those position groups that we're talking about saying, we're good there. I think we did our move with Deebo Samuel. And we got Noah Brown back, and Luke McCaffrey's going to get a chance to blossom. And with the running back room, we like our guys. And the running game is now solved because we've upgraded our offensive line a little bit, kicking Coleman to the opposite side, adding Tunsil, who's not known as a dominant run blocker, but is still, you would say, better than your average Bear. I worry that they feel solved there, and there's a little bit too much, in my mind, reliance on the Daniels magic thing. And again, he is magic, he is incredible, but I just don't think that's right or fair to do that yet. When he's making $80 million in a handful of seasons, when he signs his mega extension, which I signed him to right now, by the way, yeah, you can start to expect those things. We've got to make the McNicholses of the world better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not nervous, but or bothered. What I would say, though, is so far my perception is that Peters prefers size to where I prefer speed. Peters, and I don't just mean running back, although it's certainly been obvious there in some ways. But they did go get Austin Eckler, who's not a big guy. He's more shifty. He's not particularly fast. But if they go into another season with Brian Robinson, just as an example, as their starting running back and a bell cow, well, that tells me everything I need to know. They just watched him for a year. They didn't inherit him. They had an offseason to kind of make a decision, and they opted into more of that. Brian Robinson's fine. He's not a bad player at all. He should absolutely get carries on a good first. But he is not ever going to hit the ball over the fence. Like he is going to hit some doubles, but it's a lot of base hits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is trying to leg out some knocks in the 5-5 hole. And it just means that we see it differently in terms of like what they prefer in their backs. And they got an idea. They got a plan. They got a vision. That's cool. I would have 3 Ecklers before I had 3 B-Robs, though. And Eckler is not even really what I'm talking about. He's just shifty, and so he makes it work in the open field. But what I want is a 4.29 or 3.6 or what I want a
Speedy Gonzalez,
just one of the fastest backs in the league, who you can get the ball in space, and them touching it with no one around them means they just gained 27 yards. I understand it's really, really hard to find Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not pretending like I would just take over and touch a button and do that. It doesn't work that way. But you got to want to do it, and I'm going to find out during this draft if they want to do that.
Yeah, and my fear is that they don't. And that's kind of and again, it hasn't happened yet, and we're talking about relative fears. I'm not panicking or saying all is lost now because they don't see things maybe the way that I do, but that's what I'm looking for. I want speed at one of those spots. Like if I can pick one, it's receiver, but if you come up with a speed running back that they take in, say, round 4, fine by me, as long as that guy's going to get the looks and it's not just going to be, he's down every third game and isn't really getting touches and carries and things because they like this battering ram style better.
Grant and Danny, the poll of the day presented by Metropolitan Moving and Storage. Local, long distance, residential, commercial, 3 decades of best-in-class service and experience. Again, you're voting 1067 The Fan's Twitter account. Early on, first batch of votes in here, looks like 80% of people, 81% are saying running back, 19% are saying wide receiver. The question being, where would you rather the speedy weapon be added in the draft if Washington's going to grab one early?